The air was crisp, pine needles crunched under my boots, sunlight filtered through the canopy, painting the forest floor in a mosaic of light and shadow. I was alone, deep within the uncharted wilderness of the Sierra Nevada, my backpack laden with supplies for a week-long escape. This was my sanctuary, my escape from the noise of civilization, a place to reconnect with nature, to test my skills. Days blurred into nights. I navigated by the stars, my compass, my guide. I hunted for food, built my own fire, and slept under the vast, star-studded sky. The silence was broken only by the whisper of the wind through the trees and the crackling of my campfire. I felt alive, invigorated by the challenges of surviving in the wild. One afternoon, while tracking a deer through a particularly dense part of the forest, I noticed something strange, a crudely fashioned snare hidden among the undergrowth. It was unlike anything I had encountered before, too primitive to be the work of a fellow hiker. A shiver ran down my spine. I was no longer alone in this wilderness. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees. The forest, once so tranquil, now felt oppressive, the silence broken only by the beating of my own heart. I decided to make camp early, my senses on high alert. As darkness enveloped the forest, so too did a growing sense of unease. I had a distinct feeling I was being watched. The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows that danced on the surrounding trees. I kept my back to a large boulder, my senses on high alert. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through my veins. The feeling of being watched intensified. Hours crawled by. I forced myself to eat, my appetite gone, replaced by a gnawing anxiety. Then a sound cut through the stillness. A low whistle, barely audible, seemingly coming from all directions at once. My blood ran cold. It was a sound I recognized from my military training, a tactic used to disorientate the enemy. I grabbed my backpack, my heart pounding in my chest. The whistling grew louder, closer. I extinguished the fire, plunging myself into darkness. The whistling stopped. Silence. Then the sound of movement nearby, footsteps soft and deliberate, circling my position. I unsheathed my hunting knife, my grip tight. I was the prey being stalked, and I didn't intend to go down without a fight. As quickly as they had come, the footsteps retreated, fading into the darkness. I remained hidden, my body tense, my senses on high alert. Sleep was impossible. I spent the rest of the night crouched behind the boulder, my knife my only companion. As dawn approached, I knew I had to escape this nightmare, but I was surrounded. With the first light of dawn, I broke camp, moving swiftly and silently through the undergrowth. I had to get to higher ground, find a vantage point where I could assess the situation. My military training kicked in, years of experience guiding my every move. I was no longer a hiker enjoying the tranquility of nature. I was a soldier in enemy territory. As I climbed, I discovered more evidence of their presence. Crude traps, animal bones picked clean, strange symbols etched into the bark of trees. They were primitive but effective hunters, and they knew these woods better than I did. I was the outsider, the intruder in their domain. The forest opened up, revealing a rocky outcrop. I scrambled up, my muscles screaming from the exertion. The view from the top was breathtaking, but I had little time to appreciate it. Below in the valley, I saw them, a group of figures dressed in animal skins, their faces painted with mud and ash. They were unlike any people I'd ever seen. Their eyes were hollow, their movements feral. They were chanting, their voices a low, guttural drone that echoed through the valley. In their midst, they held a crude effigy fashioned from sticks and leaves. My blood ran cold as I realized what it represented. Me. They knew I was here, and they were coming for me. Fear, primal and instinctive, surged through me. These were not people I could reason with. I had stumbled into something ancient, something dark that existed long before I took my first breath. Survival depended on evading them. I had to disappear. I descended, my movements silent and calculated. The forest floor became my ally, concealing me from their watchful eyes. I moved like a phantom, utilizing every bit of cover the dense undergrowth provided. My backpack felt impossibly heavy, each step a monumental effort, but I couldn't stop. To stop was to die. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting an oppressive heat upon the forest. My throat was parched, my energy reserves depleted, yet I dared not stop for food or water. The sound of their chanting, though fainter, served as a constant reminder of the danger that lurked nearby. As I pushed through a thicket of ferns, I froze. Hanging from a low branch directly in my path was a gruesome trophy, A human skull, bleached white by the sun, its empty socket staring back at me. A warning, a message. They knew I was being hunted, and they enjoyed the chase. Panic threatened to consume me. I wanted to run, to scream, but I knew that would only hasten my demise. I had to think, had to strategize. I couldn't outrun them, not in this terrain. I had to outsmart them, use their knowledge of the forest against them. Remembering the traps I'd encountered, a dangerous plan formed in my mind. I would create a diversion, something to lure them away from my position. Using my compass, I identified the direction of the nearby river. Water flowed downhill, and so would they if they believed I was heading towards the water source. I gathered dry leaves and twigs, building a small concealed fire. The smoke, acrid and pungent, would be carried by the wind, creating the illusion of a larger fire, a signal that I was making camp. It was a risky gambit, but I had nothing to lose. As the sun began its final descent, casting long shadows through the trees, I set my plan in motion. With a heavy heart, I ignited the tinder. The flames caught, licking hungrily at the dry leaves, sending plumes of thick smoke into the air. I watched as the wind carried it away towards the river, towards the heart of their territory. I didn't look back. I moved through the night, guided by the stars and fueled by adrenaline. Every muscle in my body ached, every breath a burning reminder of my ordeal. But I pushed on, driven by a primal instinct to survive. The forest, once my sanctuary, was now a battleground, and I was a soldier fighting for his life. Days later, exhausted and delirious, I stumbled out of the wilderness. The sight of civilization, of other human beings, brought me to my knees. I had escaped with my life, but I was forever changed. The wilderness, once a place of solace and adventure, now held a sinister edge. The scars of my ordeal, both physical and psychological, ran deep. I never spoke of what happened in those mountains. Some things are better left buried, but the memory of that experience, the primal fear, the desperation, the will to survive, would stay with me forever. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the raw power of nature, and the darkness that can lurk within the human heart. The wilderness had tested me, and I had emerged, forever scarred but alive.